Hey, welcome in to today's show here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Thanks for watching on TV, online, listening on the pod, wherever you get your podcasts. Good to have you with us. David Rice, that's producer Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hey, man. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. It's a short week this week, so
It is.
even though yesterday was Tuesday, it still felt like a Monday to me.
It 100% felt like a Monday. But hey, we got NFL this week. We got another high school game. It's going to be fun.
tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
MAC football tonight, Wednesday.
Oh, who is it?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
but
I'll have to look it
MAC
up, yeah.
usually plays on Wednesdays. That's what's
That's
nice
right.
is you get football Wednesday to really almost all 7 days because MAC Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night football, high school Friday, college Saturday, NFL Sunday, and NFL Monday night. It just doesn't get better than this time of year.
And your Packers are playing on, are they playing on Friday? That's right,
This
against
is
the Eagles.
First time ever. Of course, we'll be live at J High Friday. More on that at the end of the show. But this will be the first time ever, I think, that we've had a game on the same day as like a Packers game. So this will be the first time I won't be able to watch the Packers live in a very long time. So if we have time later, I do want to talk more about this game, not just with the matchup itself, but other factors and why they're even playing in Brazil to begin with. A lot of people are not happy that they're even playing there. But I do want to start off, of course, locally. Next Friday, September 13th, Lumen Christi's Hall of Fame game. And the presentation will be at halftime, and they will be inducting the 10 newest members of the Lumen Christi Titans Athletic Hall of Fame, including one of our own, JTV's own, Andy Hawley. So we had a chance to talk to him briefly about that when he was on the show a while back. Again, next Friday, September 13th, presentation for that at halftime. Of course, Ryan Lamar is on there too, from the MLB. Tim Crowley and Bess Kara Cremans. Tim Crowley, Steve Dunnigan, Nick Farrell, Andy Hawley, Maurice Jones, Gretchen Klotz, Ryan Lamar, and Derek Robinson. So a lot of great Lumen Christi athletes on there. And, of course, last week when we were there, they honored the state championship girls soccer team at halftime. Jesse Brown was on the morning show Wednesday morning, and he said they're starting to run out of room. They're going to the third tier up top inside the dome, and pretty soon they're going to need scaffolding instead of a ladder to be able to put up the banners.
It's a nice problem to have.
It is. Just like all the Packers championships, when they redid the scoreboard, we had to make more room. So, I mean, we're the 13-time world champions. So,
How many of those happened before the 1960s? Or before the 1970s? I'll say that.
7 out of 13.
Okay, I was just wondering.
7, 8. Well, those still count. It's still the NFL. It may not be Super Bowl. It was still NFL. So
Yeah, then that means I'll have to count up how many NFL championships the Lions won because I'm pretty sure we won more than that. Only one?
I think only one or two.
I'll have to check. I'm curious because I actually don't know.
But the Lumen Christi Hall of Fame game again next Friday, the 13th, with the presentation at halftime. Tigers 70-69 now. They lost to the Padres in San Diego, part of their West Coast road trip on Monday. 3-0 loss. 7-3 in the last 10 games. So I know we're going to have to steal this next game or two from the Padres to still keep up with how they're playing. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. But some positive notes, though, on the wild card race. The Tigers are now the first team out from the last wild card spot. They're 4.5 games back from the Royals, who the Tigers still play at the end of the schedule. And, of course, they still have the Orioles, who are the best team in the American League. And they still have a couple other teams that are big games. But the Royals, that last series against them at the end of the year, will be the 3 biggest games of the Tigers season. And because they've struggled before this year, this will be those 3 biggest games that they've had in a couple of years, really. I would
argue since 2015.
Really, you think that whole span?
Yeah, because, like, after 2015, right, we got rid of Verlander and all those guys. So, like I feel like that was kind of us tearing down, and we just haven't played a meaningful game this late in the season since then.
Right, because usually by this time the Tigers are right around the White Sox record. Like they've
Right. I mean,
lost 90
you know, a
games.
lot of those seasons we were last place, and then if we weren't, like, this is the best we have played. So the fact
Yep.
that this is the best we played since 2015, and the fact that we are 4.5 back, you know, we have a shot, but it's not guaranteed we'll get in. I mean, like you said, the Kansas City series is going to be so big. So if we can cut it down to 3 games by that point, anything can happen.
So the way the Royals have been playing, they've been playing well too. And it's only a 3-game series. Do you think the Tigers have to sweep the Royals then? Let's say if it's still 4.5 games back, like it is now, going into Kansas City, do you think the Tigers have to sweep? That's not the very last series either on the schedule. We have the White Sox after. That's 4 guaranteed wins against the White Sox.
Yeah, yeah, and you're playing against the team. I don't know, you know,
They have to win at least 2 for sure.
for sure. Well, and then here's the weird thing, right? Because like White Sox, you think that's going to be super easy, but you get to the end of the year and you get all these kids that are being called up to the majors for the first time. It's going to be a different team than what we've seen up to this point.
Really?
So
You think so?
I think so. You're going to have a lot of players in the minors that are going to try their best to have a shot to make the majors with this. So I think that those games might be a bit more competitive when people are thinking, if you're going to win, if you're going to make the playoffs, you got to beat the White Sox. But, you know, who knows what could happen with that.
But, I mean, after all, the Tigers have dropped a game here and there to a bad team that they've played this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if we dropped 1 out of the 4 to
Yeah.
the White Sox. That's a given. As much as I hate to say that, because the White Sox are literally the worst team of all time. Quite literally.
Could be. I mean, you know, you talk about that Tigers team that was from '03 with the Alan Trammell coach team. That was a pretty bad team. And they're, you know,
We don't talk about
there,
that.
yeah. And then there was like a Mets team that was historically terrible. So there's been some. This is definitely up there. I saw a game that somebody was playing on social media, and it was Civil War general or Chicago White Sox player. And like, I got 3/4 of them wrong.
Give me the general.
Yeah, yeah. I got 3/4 of them wrong because I thought every single one of them sounded like a Civil War. And I had never heard of any of these White Sox.
You can save some time and pick the general, too.
Yeah,
For your insurance.
that's right.
The Tigers are on a West Coast road trip until Sunday night, the 8th. They are at San Diego through tomorrow night, Thursday, and then they are at Oakland Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Those are 3 wins right there. That helps, too.
And Colorado, they got Colorado after that, and it's like, you
Yep.
know, Colorado should be easy to beat, and I'm pretty sure that's in Detroit. I'm not sure, though.
It is at home, yes. I just looked at the schedule.
So
earlier.
I mean, so that's a benefit for us. We're going to be at home for those. So you would hope that we can sweep Colorado or at least win that series. And, you know, you have Oakland ahead of us. So San Diego is going to be tough. You know, if we can win 1 out of this series with San Diego, and if Boston or Kansas City or Minnesota can lose, I'll feel a little bit better. And then we got an easy schedule ahead.
Yeah, I put on our sheet here my projection.
I saw that. I
record
like that.
after. So 71-70 after the Padres, 74 after Oakland, and we drop 1 to Colorado, but we go 76-71 after that. And
like that.
I feel pretty good about 76-71 going into the Orioles. I forget who we play in between, but we go at home versus Baltimore, then another team, and then we play at Baltimore. So we have 6 games coming up against the best team in the American League, and arguably the best team in baseball in the Orioles. So, I mean, how many games though do you give them out of 6?
Well,
because
here's the thing, right? Like, by that point, I'd presume that the Orioles are going to have already punched their ticket. I don't know when that is, but if
I think
it's
they've
after
already.
this,
I think they've already punched it.
but
No, I
more,
don't
I
think
mean,
anybody
like,
has.
well, yeah, and they might have punched their ticket, but in terms of winning their division, what I think what they might do, they might rest guys during that series against the Tigers. I would not be surprised if they don't start their best guys.
Which helps the Tigers.
It's going to help us. So, I mean, that's the thing. We're going to face them a lot, but they might look at that series as, we don't really need to win this series. Like, we just need to stay healthy and get ready for the postseason and just make sure they can beat the Yankees, because that's what I think it's going to come down to.
Right. So again, Tigers on the road in the West Coast till Sunday night, hosting the Rockies next week, and they still have the Orioles for 6 games. But again, that's kind of an asterisk next to the Orioles because you don't know who's going to play with them. And then we have 4 games against the White Sox. So I feel pretty good going into the rest of the year. I think, again, it's still going to come down to the 3 games against the Royals. Those are the most important games the Tigers will have in the last 9 to 10 years. But besides that, I feel pretty good. let's say we win 3 or 4 against the Orioles, even though they're resting their guys, that's still a good baseball team. So to beat the Orioles 3 or 4 out
For
of the
sure.
6 total, and then you take 4 from the White Sox, like it, the Tigers could, and let's say something happens even with the team above KC, the second team in the wild card. Let's say something happens with them. There might be a scenario where the Royals get in,
Yeah.
and the Tigers could sneak in the last spot. You never know.
Yeah, and with the Twins where they're at, it's not like the Twins have.
So
have
it's the
punched their
Twins
ticket.
ahead of the Royals. I
Yeah,
couldn't
so
remember off the top of my head.
yeah,
That's what happens when you don't do all your research before we come
well,
on.
and it's like Yankees, they're gonna have that. They're either gonna win the East and Baltimore will be in that spot, or the Yankees are gonna be in that wild card spot. So that first spot is kind of solidified. Minnesota, though, only up 1 game on Kansas City. They could go on a losing streak. Kansas City could go on a losing streak. Detroit can get in. So there's plenty of things that can happen.
And it's not going to be for sure either Tigers or Royals right now for that last spot.
Right.
The Twins could drop. Of course,
Boston,
either,
Seattle, they could get hot. I don't see Seattle getting hot, but it could happen.
It
They've
could
had a couple
happen.
good games recently. Yeah. So
And because the Red Sox just beat the Tigers not too long ago, I think 2 out of the 3 games, or 1 for sure. So you never know. And that's kind of the beauty of it all, right? I mean, you even look at college football. They just came out with the new AP poll yesterday. Florida State's like not even ranked now.
it kind of makes sense. That was some bad.
And
that was
I
some bad
agree. I'm
football.
not saying they should be. They shouldn't
Mhm.
at all. And I think even though the playoff is now 12 teams, Florida State, not to switch gears here, but Florida State has already ruined their chances of getting in.
What conference are they in?
ACC.
I thought so.
And they're,
yeah,
and,
they're not
because they could, but the only way that I can still see them getting in is if they win their
I was gonna say you could
conference.
win the ACC and still so they have a shot there, but I just don't think that. I think they were kind of. It was like TCU last year, where TCU was coming off of the trip to the
Last year?
playoffs, and then their first game of the season, if you remember, was against Colorado. And I
Yep.
felt like that was set up because TCU was ranked because of what they did last year, but they had lost so many people that they weren't the same team. And I felt the same thing with Florida State. Like, they're going to get beat up on because people think they're better than they are. And sure as heck, that's what happened.
Like after they missed the playoffs,
Yeah.
they thought that they were them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they go to Dublin and play Georgia Tech and lose, and then you lose to I forget who they played on Monday. They Boston
it was
College.
Boston College. You're right. It was
Boston College. So when we come back, we will take a look again at our top plays of the week from the last week of high school football, presented by Pataki Orthodontics, and we've got our picks coming up too. So it's all on the way. Stay with us. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Our show today brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. Thanks to them for the hats and the new set decor, mugs and tumblers and whatnot. So thanks to them for everything. Appreciate it. MyInsuranceCircle.com. New segment on the show, our top 5 plays of the week. Of course, if you normally watch the Aspen 1 hour football show during the season, you'll see we have a couple top plays to show and our player of the week while we're mentioning the games. But new segment on our show. Also, again, want to thank our sponsor for the top plays of the week, Pataki Orthodontics. So, again, thank you for all that they do, and you can visit them. So thank you to Pataki Orthodontics. Let's get right into it. Our top 5 plays of the week. Shall we start, Adam?
Yes, we should.
At number 5, this play didn't count, but it was still a play I thought we had to throw in there. Number 5, Cadale Williams in the first quarter. It was early on. Hurdles a man. Now it did get called back, we believe, because he did make contact with the defender. You can't touch them. It has to be a clean jump, as you're watching the highlight here. But still a great play. Hurdled the guy and still ended up scoring a touchdown. Again, it didn't count, but it was still a great play. That's our number 5 play.
We had to put that in there because that was
Oh,
so
right.
sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at it.
Number 4, Michigan center. Again, Trey Collins, made a big play for the Michigan Center Cardinals. And again, Michigan Center was a really competitive first half. So Trey Collins set them up perfectly for a big touchdown there, over almost 50 yards to put Michigan Center inside the 5-yard line. And number 3, Timmy Crowley, quarterback for the Lumen Christi Titans. He had 3 touchdowns on the night, and he had 2 himself on rushing touchdowns, including one, I said it on the broadcast, that reminded me of the Peyton Manning one, where he faked out the whole stadium.
The bootleg. That's awesome.
That's right. So that's at number 3 that happened early on in the second quarter. Number 2, Michigan Center, again. Braylon Brown doing his thing for the Cardinals. We had a chance to talk to him at Media Days. So Michigan Center, another big play that kept him in the game throughout the first half. And you mentioned it earlier. You could feel the energy in the stadium when it was a close game. It was whoa.
Especially it being who it's against. It being opening weekend. You could feel the pressure, and then Lumen Christi just ran away with it.
Right. And our number 1 top play of the week, this happened in the second half. Of course, for Lumen Christi, you always hear about Cadale Williams or the quarterback, Timmy Crowley, or even their running back or fullback, Rayberg. But there were a couple other guys who made big plays for Lumen Christi Friday night. Another running back, Josh Dumont, and wide receiver, Cash Callahar. That's our top play of the week in the second half. Long pass from Timmy Crowley. He was able to hold on to the ball. He was going to get tackled, basically pushes him off, shakes off the D, keeps the play alive. Cash Callahar scores for the Lumen Christi Titans. Great 5 plays, by the way, to kick off our first week of high school football. So thanks to Minuteman Sewer and Drain, and thanks to Pataki Orthodontics for our top 5 plays of the week. And again, every week from our live broadcast, we'll bring you 5 more plays to show. So next Monday, we'll have 5 plays from the Jackson Vikings against the Warriors. Not the Grass Lake Warriors, but the Waverly Warriors. So thanks to Pataki Orthodontics, and that's our top 5 plays of the week. And you can always go back and check out top plays or highlights from the full game of our live broadcast online, along with photos and other coverage at JTV.tv. So coming up, we'll still have more high school football coverage, including some interviews from Chelsea State Bank Media Day. So we've got more of the show coming up, brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. Stay with us. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Our show today brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency, myinsurancecircle.com. Let's get right into it because we have a lot of games to do. It's time for the picks. We did a few of them last week. We didn't do any high school picks, I don't think. But we did do college picks.
Right, but I also would have assumed, I thought about that after the show was over, but my thought was we would have all picked Lumen, I assume.
Yeah.
So we would all be 1-0 on high school anyway, so we'll roll that over.
All right, let's get right into it. A couple Big 8 games. Union City back-to-back defending conference champions hosting Stockbridge. Stockbridge struggled last week, lost the big rivalry game against Leslie for the first time in a handful of years. I am going to take Union City in this one at home against a newcomer to the Big 8 conference, so give me Union City.
And for all those reasons, I will also take Union City.
Springport, again, new coach Ben Pack. They got a big win last week, starting 1-0. Great for their program, by the way. They have a lot of great young athletes. I'm going to take the Spartans here, Springport, on the road against Maple Valley, who is another struggling program. So give me Springport.
Yeah, I wanted to take Vermontville. That's where my sister used to live, but I have to take Springport. They're just the better
home
team.
Bias there with Vermontville.
And them being the home team makes me want to take them too, but Springport is, on paper, the better team, so I will take Springport.
All right, into the Cascades, East Jackson and Vandercook Lake. I don't know, trying to find a couple of nuggets for this game. just if you're a fan in the area, you know both teams are struggling teams. Vandercook, this is their first year back, playing 11-man full cascade since 2019. First time since after COVID that they've even played this schedule. Vandercook got shut out last week against Sand Creek. Sand Creek also, I mean, they won 50-0, so you've got to say they're good, right? Well, Sand Creek also isn't like a superior team either. And East Jackson lost, but they haven't. They didn't look on paper, looking at the stat sheet, um, as bad as some other games. This one was a pick 'em for me, but I'm going to take the home team. Give me East Jackson at home over the Jayhawks.
You're going to be surprised, but I have the Cook. I got Vandercook.
You're taking the Cook?
I think they didn't score last week. I think they will score this week. I think it won't be high scoring, but I think it's going to be a really close game. It could come down to a few plays. I think Cook wins, and I think they've waited this long to have this game.
This one was a toss-up for me. So
yeah. I just think it's been this long since they've been able to play this style of football, and I think now that they're back into it and they've had that first game out of the way, they beat East Jackson.
Well, if Jeff Steers is watching, he's going to be very happy.
That was for Jeff. That was for Jeff Steers.
That one's for you, Jeff. He's taking the Cook. So that's one that we're separated on, two different picks. Columbia at Grass Lake. I know Columbia's a decent team. They struggled last week against Madison. It was low scoring, but it was back and forth. Madison pulled out the win on the road at Columbia, but they're going to Grass Lake. Grass Lake played not as tough an opponent last week in Homer. They scored, I believe, 32 on Homer. And Braden Lape looked good in that game for the Warriors, and so did their other key receivers. And they have a mix on the line, some returners, a lot of returners, and a few newer guys mixed in on defense. But overall, I think it'll be a decent game, but it's not my bias. It might be if you know I'm from Grass Lake, but go Warriors, give me Grass Lake.
I think this game comes down to if Braden Lake plays well, Grass Lake is going to win, and
he's got the arm. He does. He doesn't run very often, but he'll move the football.
I'll roll with Grass Lake by taking Grass Lake.
I'll roll with Grass Lake by taking the lake. I like your thinking there. Go Warriors. All right, Homer, Leslie. Leslie won big in their rivalry last week, 41-7 over Stockbridge. Homer struggled. Again, they lost to Grass Lake, gave up 32 points to a team like the Warriors who don't put up big numbers. They don't light up the scoreboard and break the scoreboard. Like, they don't score 40, 50 points when they win. But they do get the job done. And Homer, they didn't win last year. They went 0-9. They gave up 32 to Grass Lake. And Leslie, even Josh Burgett talked about it. He talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago. Leslie, as much as they've struggled the last couple years, they only won 2 or 3 games last year. They're a lot better. They have weapons coming back that did okay for them last year. They're a dark horse in the Cascades East, giving the Blackhawks at home over Homer.
Yeah, usually when I listen to Josh Burgett, it's usually good for me when it comes to these picks. Usually. So
you gotta watch the Aspen 1 hour football show for his picks.
That's true. So I mean, if he likes Leslie, I'll like Leslie. This was kind of a toss-up game. I don't know these teams super well. I'll take Leslie. I trust Josh.
Well, I trust him too.
Yeah.
So, shameless plug while we're in the pick. Speaking of the show, Aspen 1 hour football show, 7:30 and 10:30 Thursday nights. Again, online at jtv.tv. But back to the picks. This is a big one. Addison, Manchester. If you know the coaching changes they've had, Manchester's coach last year, longtime Ben Pack, now at Springport, former Manchester coach. Former Addison coach Josh Lindemann won 2 Cascades titles. Now at Manchester, Addison, former Hudson coach and Adrian College assistant Harry Bailey, now at Addison. 2 hard-nosed, run-it-up-the-gut T offenses, Addison, Manchester. This is a game I have circled on my calendar. Of course, we're going to be at J-High. But I would love to be at that game.
It's going to be a good game.
I'm going to say it on the air. I'd love to be there.
Yeah.
Addison, Manchester, I don't know. It's another toss-up.
I got my
We have
pick.
a couple of them. I do too. Give me the Dutch at home against Addison.
I got Manchester as well. There's not a single person in the world that knows that team probably better than this coach at Manchester. So I got Manchester, man.
And because it's the same offense,
That's why I'm thinking. There's not going to be anybody that's going to know this
these
team
are
more
going to
than
be
him
two
outside of that
teams
team.
that because they're both wing T offenses,
It's going to be a quick game.
it will be. They'll be out of there by 8:15. They'll stop at Culver's and Chelsea and be
That's right.
home by 9.
That's right.
Because these are two teams, though, that have the same offense, literally, they know each other's offense. And so what team is going to come out, though, with more motion, more fake, and surprises, I think is what the game might come down to for me.
And I think it's going to be like a 3-point game. Like, I think it will end. It could end on the final play. We might even see, a last play type situation going in. So I think it will be close. Like you said, I think it's going to be a great game.
It will be. Hanover at Michigan Center. Hanover had a big Week 1 victory, shut out Monroe Jefferson 54-0. But again, Jefferson's a team that has struggled. The Bears, again, as you can tell by my sweatshirt, I don't like the Bears. So Hanover got a big win. Michigan Center, quick takeaways from Center Lumen. Obviously, we know the team Center Lumen is. And we know Center's a good team, though. But we talked about it last week. We know when you go in to play Lumen, it's not going to be easy. But we know Center's still a good team. They have a lot of weapons, and I think they get the win at home to open Cascade's play against the Comets.
If Michigan Center played the second half like they did the first half of that game, there would have been a lot of nervous Titan fan going into that fourth quarter. But with them playing how they did, they struggled a little bit at the end, and Lumen kind of took off. We talked about that earlier this week. But Michigan Center is going to get their win back here. I think they're going to beat Hanover, and I do like watching Hanover play. And probably if it was Hanover versus a different team, I'd take them. But with it being Michigan Center knows that they hung with them for a little bit. They hung with Lumen for a little bit, and they know they're talented. So I think they're
a lot better of a game than it was last year with Center Lumen.
It was, and I think they knew that. So I think they come in with a little bit of confidence, even though coming off the loss, and I think that they are going to roll over Hanover.
They were still able to score 3 or 4 touchdowns
Sure.
against Lumen Christie in the first half. You still got to feel pretty good if you're Michigan Center.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you see them at Ford Field at the end of the year, you're going to be like, I feel real good now.
Right. Because Michigan Center's trying to get back to when they made their run a couple of years ago, and they have the weapons. Can they put it together? And
That's right.
This team for Center last year, like Napoleon's last year team with all those weapons and seniors against this year's Center team. I thought that would have been a great matchup. But give me Michigan Center at home against the Comets. A Cascades East versus West matchup crossover. The Comets of Jonesville, not Hanover, but Jonesville, the orange and black, going to Napoleon. I'm going to take the Comets of Jonesville. They're a contender in the West. Napoleon struggled last week against Onstead, another team in Onstead that isn't super great either. But Napoleon's a young team. They have a new quarterback and running back. It'll take time, but give me Jonesville.
This is for you, Dan. I will take Napoleon with the upset. I do think that they're going to come out here, and the game will be close. And I think that because it's going to be close, I'll just take Napoleon because it might come down to a play like the previous game we talked about. So I'll take Napoleon.
Lumen Christie on the road to open up league play at Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. Again, Notre Dame Prep is a struggling team. Give me the Titans.
Yeah, I don't have Lumen losing this year, so I'll take Lumen.
No, they're going to be hosting another trophy at Ford Field at the end of the year.
Spoiler alert for the rest of our picks for the rest of the season, but I think Lumen is undefeated. I might make an argument. This could be the best Lumen team we've seen in the last 3 years, so I'll take Lumen.
I can agree with that. I mean, I think the other two teams are great, but it's hard to compare because it's like all 3 won state championships. Right. How do you break it down?
And also we're one game in where we had the full season to look at those ones. But I think I think Lumen, I think Lumen's going to have a very easy night. It's not going to be like that first half for Michigan Center.
Getting into I-8 play, the Mounties of Northwest going back down to Lenawee. They played at Tecumseh Thursday last week. They lost 47-7, and now they play at Adrian Madison right down the road from Tecumseh to play Madison that just got away with a win at Columbia Central. Both teams, again, struggled last week. Of course, Northwest giving up 47 on defense, scoring 7 on offense. Uh, and we know Tecumseh's a very good team, and we know Northwest has had the last 2 years have been a lot better for that program. But it'll be a low-scoring game. Madison gets the win at home. I'm taking the non-local team, the Trojans of Madison, getting the win against the Mounties.
Same here. I think this might be my only one. Northwest is almost there. I'll say that. It was tough for me not to pick them because I think they're almost there, but I'm just leaning towards Adrian Madison in this game. But I'm not confident. This is probably my least confident pick of all of them because I think Northwest could. They could.
I agree.
Surprise, so.
It's my least confident pick, and because as much good as Tecumseh is, Northwest, again, I mentioned that they still have the weapons. They need another couple weeks. Give them time. Don't worry. They'll still be in the mix at the end of the year when the points matter the most. Western, our own Noah Baker called this a real big boy football game. The Panthers of Western on the road going all the way up to Traverse City to take on Traverse City Central. This is a dogfight. I'm going to go Homer. I'm going to pick the local team, though. Western's going to go all the way up the highway and give them the Panthers.
Yeah, I think Western's prepared for this game, and even though they got to make the travel out to Traverse City for this, I think they are going to be ready to leave there with a victory. So I have Western, and I agree. This is going to be a big boy fight. I'm excited for this game.
And finally, our game will be at live on JTV Friday night, 6:45. Of course, you and the rest of the crew will be there. Myself, Josh Burgett, Dan Gallagher making his debut this year, and Max Fritz on the sideline. Waverly struggled. They gave up big points to Wayland last week, and Jackson got away with a win. It was a great game. I was there at Monroe, and, give me Jackson at home. I really shouldn't have taken this long for my pick. Easy for me. Go Vikings.
Same thing here. I'll pick Jackson. I really like Jackson, and even though we haven't been able to see, we didn't get to see their first game, I'm very excited to watch the second game. I want to see how they are.
I think out of our entire crew, other than me and Jeff Steers, I was the only one who had a chance to watch Jackson already.
Yeah, that's right.
Year,
yeah. So I'll pick Jackson. Home field advantage. Crowd's going to be into it. I think it'll be a fun game to watch, and I can't wait because we're going to be there.
Couple more quick games here. College football. It's the big one. The Wolverines at home. We will be at that game. Go Blue. As much as I'm a Wolverine season ticket holder, been almost every home game X amount of years, diehard Wolverine. I don't feel good against Texas. It's going to pain me to say this. I think you know where I'm going with this. I think Texas is going to win.
Oh, that sucks.
Go Blue. I mean, I'm not that I'm rooting against Michigan, but
right.
I don't see a situation where Michigan gets this win.
I have it differently. Michigan wins by 2 touchdowns. I'll have Michigan
Two
take.
touchdowns.
I'll have Michigan take the. I think.
Wow.
I think Texas will make a couple mistakes early on. I think that crowd. I know it's Texas.
So you don't think Arch Manning is going to play then?
Here's the funny thing. I think he is, and that's why I have. That's why I think something might happen early, and I think I'm just saying we'll see what happens. But people are going to say I'm a fortune teller if this comes true. But I think Michigan is going to beat Texas, and I think that will be the big story going into this next week. Will be about how Michigan is the real deal in the Big Ten and how
they haven't gone away.
And will be exactly what will be said. This will be the first kind of big upset, but not like in terms of a bad team against a good team. It's two big good teams against each other. But the one that isn't favored is going to pick up the victory. So, yeah, I have Michigan winning big.
Another mediocre Big Ten matchup. The Terps from Maryland, playing Sparty.
I can't trust Maryland, what I saw, because they faced UConn. UConn just is not a good football program.
They're a basketball school, obviously.
If and this is tough for college for me to pick, because if Maryland played offensively like they have last year and the previous years, I would have Maryland in this game, but I don't know how, because I don't know if Michigan State's offense is going to come out and score a lot. So right now, sorry, Brandon, I do have Maryland winning. I do. And maybe it's my bias going against Michigan State, but I think they might pick up the win.
It's only bias for me. You saw me pick the Owls last week. I'm going
Yeah.
to keep it going. Owls and Turtles. Give me Maryland. Let's go to the NFL. Thursday night football to kick off the season. This is going to be a hell of a matchup. Ravens, Chiefs. Give me Lamar. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah. Other than the Lions, my team this season is Baltimore. Derrick Henry is one of my favorite players, and finally he's on the team with one of my favorite quarterbacks, Lamar. I think that's going to be an awesome combination. I also have the Ravens. Chiefs also historically not have been the best on banner-raising nights and first nights of the NFL seasons. So
look at last year.
Yeah, so exactly. So I have Ravens for this one.
I think all the Swifties and the Kelsey fans can finally shut up and stop celebrating. Lamar is going to go to Arrowhead and beat Kansas City. Eagles, Packers. I'll talk more about why they shouldn't be playing in Brazil at the end of the show if we have time. But you know where I'm going. Go Pack.
Fly, Eagles, fly. I have the Eagles winning this game. I don't think your guys' defense will be as good as people expect. And I think the Eagles' offense, I know losing Jason Kelsey stinks. I think that Eagles' offense is going to be better than it was last year. I think this Eagles team,
well, it's going to be tough. Our defense, our young guys against Saquon Barkley. Now.
Right. And that's why I think this offense by itself will be better than it was last year, even losing one of the greatest centers of all time. So Eagles will beat the Packers.
You know, anybody who picks the Eagles, I'm not telling them, oh, that's a terrible pick. It'll be a great game. It's two great teams. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how this defense is going to do. I mean, but honestly, we didn't really Xavier McKinney was a big pickup on defense for Green Bay from the Giants. He's an exceptional DB, but otherwise, everybody else is the same, though, on the Packers defense. So, and we beat Kansas City last year at Lambeau, and we beat the Lions at their place. So that gives me confidence we can pull it off and beat the Eagles in South America against Brazil. More on that later if we have time. Rams-Lions, Sunday night football, Stafford-Goff, playoff rematch. I'll let you go first with this one. I need a second here.
Yeah, I obviously I'm going to pick the Lions. Confidence level, though, if you asked me going into the season, what game would you not want first? What game would you not want week one? I would tell you this specific game.
Really?
In this specific place, in Detroit.
Why is that?
It's something about me picking against a team that they've had the entire offseason to think about how this exact location against this exact team, which pretty much the same players, they were the reason you guys didn't go further in the playoffs. There's something about that having the entire season to look towards and think about, and then you're facing them week one. Something about that kind of freaks me out that I'm not a big fan of. That being said, I like the Lions. I like the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year for obvious reasons, and they are the better team. I take the Lions. Their defense, I think, will shine. If we win, our defense will shine.
Kelly Stafford is really upset at a lot of people. Matt and Kelly going to come into Ford Field. Give me the Rams on the road Sunday night.
What are you doing?
Rams over the Lions. My guy A-Rod, Jets 49ers, Monday night. It'll be a tough game for the Jets. Give me the Niners.
This is not how I thought this was going to go.
Expect the unexpected.
Jets are going to surprise a lot of people. New York Jets will pick up the victory in a very close game against San Fran. It will come down to the final play. It will be a pass in the end zone that will be incomplete from Purdy.
Oh, I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a good game,
Yeah.
but I think the Niners.
I think it will be close, but I think the Jets will win on a last-second play that goes incomplete for San Fran.
Another Rodgers classic moment there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the picks. We'll check back in next Monday and see how we did, whether we did great or not so great. We'll see how I did on my Rams pick. When we come back, speaking of the Lions, Dan Campbell, he's an actor now, so stay tuned. Welcome back here on JTV. David Rice, Adam back with you. Our show today brought to you by the Insurance Circle Agency. Thanks to them for the hats and the new set decor, the mugs and the tumblers. Almost knocked over my coffee there. Had to take another commercial break. Would have not been good. Um, Packers Eagles. I mentioned it a couple times earlier in the show. Why they shouldn't be playing in Brazil. Now I totally understand, and I get it from a business and money perspective, right? The NFL wants to add more countries and there are 4 or 5 international games a year, get more fans excited about the NFL around the world, right? I totally understand that. But other than Venezuela, I think Brazil is probably the worst other country in South America to pick for that game. Number one, the air quality there and the pollution. It's like everybody just died and the air is orange and not right. Number one. Number two, um, a lot of the high crime rate and the violence in Brazil. Now, the Eagles and Packers, you might be asking, what does that have to do with football? These are two teams that wear the color green. Now, if you've read anything online about this game, you know that in Brazil, gang-affiliated color and high crime gangs wear the color green. And a lot of league officials, well, I guess they're still letting them play. I shouldn't say league officials. A lot of people in general are worried about them playing in Brazil and two teams wearing the color green and any fans wearing green in general because of the violence there and that color and its affiliation. Now, both teams actually, players, the Packers just flew out to Brazil this morning, and both teams' players, out of safety, are not allowed to leave the hotel because of the crime rate. So as much as I like adding international games, just do one more in England, like the 9 a.m. Sunday. That's my opinion.
Man, I have the complete opposite opinion on this. This is interesting. I love this idea. I love expanding the game. And I know you said that's the part you like, and I get that, but the air quality isn't the greatest, but it's not that far off from the US as a whole in terms of air quality. US on the list is 102 in terms of air pollution, and Brazil is 83rd.
Really?
So we're very close to Brazil in terms of that. Now, obviously,
proud to be an American, then, right?
there are some areas in Brazil that are definitely worse than, majority of the areas in the US, but the gang thing, that is an issue, obviously, and it looks like that they've tried to work towards
without
fixing
security or officials aren't even allowed to leave the hotel room.
And that's what's going to happen when you go to other countries. But this is what would happen if the Olympics were in Rio de Janeiro.
Again,
if any of these countries that might have a higher crime rate. I mean, that's going to happen. So I love this. I love games being in different areas. I think that Chiefs Rams game from years and years ago that should have been at Mexico City, that ended up being the highest scoring Monday Night Football game of all time. That should have been in Mexico City, and I felt like that would have been good. It
was one of the greatest games of all time. It was amazing.
That would have been great for the sport to have that overseas. And sure, I do want them to move to England, but have a couple games there like they've been doing. But South America's fun. I'm okay with having it. And I love Brazil personally. That's one of my favorite countries outside of the U.S. So I'm a little biased in that way.
I think you're the first person ever to say that Brazil's one of your favorite.
I don't know if it's just because I've always really liked MMA and they've had a big MMA scene, but and I've liked a lot of films that are Brazilian films and stuff. So I don't know, just something about Brazil I really like. But
and by the way, this game isn't even going to be on regular NBC. It's Peacock only.
It's Peacocock only for
Peacock only.
All this stuff with the. I have Peacock, but still, it's just like all these.
Well, I do too. I'm not worried about it, but we're going to be at Jackson High though, so this.
Yeah.
Actually,
we'll have to check the scores.
But I'm an owner though. I have to be dedicated to the team. So, real quick here, Dan Campbell. Apparently he's gotten into acting now. He's in a new Applebee's commercial.
It's so good. It's so good.
And the one scene where he's like, level-headed, high with the kid sitting in the booth, and the kid just looks so concerned. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought, and that's coming from a Packers fan. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought he did a great job, and this will be good for Applebee's, and we'll see it played like we saw the Stafford Little Caesars commercials being played during the NFL season. We'll see the same thing with this. And
wait, Stafford's played in a Little Caesars commercial before.
You haven't seen that?
I've never seen.
Oh
that.
yeah. So there was like a Little Caesars commercial with like him on like the practice field, and it was him as a Ram. But it was for a Little Caesars commercial, and I think they ran last year because I think Little Caesars is now like the official pizza of the NFL. So, but it'll be fun finally getting to see like a Lions player or a Lions coach, excuse me, in Detroit while still being with Detroit, being in a nationally televised commercial. It's pretty cool.
For local sports, you can always go to jtv.tv for daily scoreboard, photo galleries, and more. And real quick before we say goodbye, Aspen 1 Hour Football Show tomorrow, Thursday night, 7:30 and 10:30 with Josh Purgett and Andy Hawley. You can watch that again online, jtv.tv. And, of course, we will see you Friday night live, 6:45 at Jackson High. Adam, thanks a lot. I'm David Rice. Thanks to the Insurance Circle Agency and Pataki Orthodontics. Have a great weekend. Tune in from J High. We'll see you Monday.